Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me for Tuesday Tips and Tea with Linnea FNP. My name is Linnea Baker. I am a family nurse practitioner as well as a certified health and well-being coach, and I am an Arbonne independent consultant. And today I'm really excited to get to bring you an important topic. I want to talk about immunity today and just give you some baseline information about how our immune systems work, how this all ties into chronic inflammation and our gut health, which are topics we talk about pretty often on this platform, and just bring you some more awareness and education. Okay. I just want to let you know I'm so grateful for each of you for taking time out of your day to tune into this and show up and hear this message today. So we're going to talk about unlocking the secret shield, which is the immune system's key to a healthier you. If you do not make time for your wellness, you will be forced to make time for your illness. That's a quote. I don't know who the author is of that, but it's very powerful. We have to stop grinding out in the United States, and we have to focus on taking care of ourselves and filling up our cup so we have more to pour into the people we love. I know firsthand what it's like to be grinding it out and giving, and serving others and working hard and doing all the things that we do in the United States and the way our culture is with the way we eat and the amount of stress we have and the hours we work. And it depleted me, and I ended up with a chronic illness. You guys know I have an autoimmune disease. And I don't want that for you guys. I've learned the hard way, and I've been doing so much better because I made myself a priority and I made a lot of changes in my lifestyle to better take care of myself and pour into me so I have more to pour into the others that I get to serve, including my family, who's my number one priority. So why is it important to understand the role of immunity? Well, immunity is a fundamental aspect of our well-being, guys. And understanding the importance of immunity can really empower us to make better choices in our daily lives. And just think about it. When we're ill, everything stops and we focus on healing and recovering, right? Think about it. Anytime somebody gets sick in the family, even if it's a head cold, you decrease productivity, maybe your kids miss school, and everything stops to focus on healing and recovering. Have you ever cared for somebody that's ill, maybe for an extended period of time? Maybe they're disabled from a chronic illness. Maybe they've been in the hospital for a while and you're visiting with them and they're your family member. It really takes a toll on relationships, on finances, and on mental health for both the person who's ill or chronically ill or debilitated, and also for the caregiver or family member. And this stress really ripples out to affect the entire family. And really, this is powerful because recently this has hit home for me because just a couple of weeks ago, my husband suffered from gallbladder disease that we didn't know he had. And he had an emergency surgery that was complicated. And he ended up staying in the hospital for a little bit of an extended period of time from what you would normally do for gallbladder surgery. And then he had to recover at home. You better believe that stopped my life a little bit. I'm fortunate that I work from my phone, so I was able to work at his bedside in between taking care of him and him just trying to rest and get stronger and heal. But my productivity wasn't the same. And I also had to pour into myself to make sure I stayed healthy so that I was able to take care of him. And of course, the stress of it all impacts all of us, right? No matter how prepared you think you are for those situations. And then at the same time, my dad has been declining in his health and has had a lot of serious health conditions that has not only taken a toll on him, but on the whole family, the stress and worry and the caregiver piece. It's been a lot. So I feel like this is perfect timing to talk about this topic because unfortunately, I've been living in this vein for a little bit recently, and it hits home and it speaks to me right now. Hopefully this doesn't speak to all of you right now, but I'm sure at some point, unfortunately, in your life or a loved one's life, you may have seen this or gone through it. So what does the immune system do? Well, the function of the immune system is to keep you healthy And it does the following. This is according to Cleveland Clinic. Okay, guys. The first thing the immune system does is it wants to keep invaders out. And invaders, we're talking about germs, okay? So these invaders or germs, they can be bacteria, viruses, fungi that cause infections. Those are all types of invaders or germs. And also parasites as well as cancer cells are invaders. When the immune system is working appropriately, it's also supposed to destroy invaders. And when we destroy invaders, that's to limit the harm done to the body for the invaders that got in, okay? And then lastly, when the immune system is working appropriately, it's supposed to help the body adapt to new challenges and threats. So how does our immune system work? And this comes from Cleveland Clinic. When your immune system is working properly, it tells the difference between the cells that are yours and those that don't belong to your body. Okay, this is when it's working properly. Also, it activates and mobilizes itself. The immune system activates and mobilizes itself to kill germs that may harm you. It can end an attack once the threat is gone. That's important. It can turn itself off once that threat is gone and it's done its job. And it learns about germs after you've had contact with them so that it can develop antibodies against them. So it's important to know there's two types of immunity. There's innate immunity and there's natural immunity. Innate immunity, which is natural immunity, and adaptive immunity, which is acquired immunity, okay? So when we talk about the innate immunity, that's our first line of defense, guys, okay? Innate immunity or natural immunity is our first line of defense. And this includes physical barriers like the skin and mucous membranes, and it also includes the lining of the gut. Did you know that? Yeah, the lining of the gut is our first line, is one of the parts of the innate immune system and first line of defense. And innate immunity works immediately upon pathogen entry, okay? And all a pathogen is a disease-causing organism, okay? Now we have adaptive or acquired immunity. And that immunity, the other type of immunity, adaptive or acquired, it actually develops over time with exposure. It provides specific protection against pathogens, and it involves our B and T cells, which produce antibodies and memory cells, okay? So what does chronic inflammation have to do with immunity? We talk about chronic inflammation a lot. So I wanted to give you a small foundation of just the basics of our immune system so you can understand how this works. And chronic inflammation is actually, or actually inflammation in general, not just chronic inflammation. Because remember, we've talked about there's two types of inflammation. There's acute inflammation and chronic inflammation. So any type of inflammation, whether it's acute or chronic, it's the body's first line of defense, and it's part of the innate immune response or natural immune response. Remember, innate and natural are the same. And when inflammation occurs, it means the body's immune system has been activated. And this can occur because there's an infection, there may be an injury, or there could be toxins, and the body's responding to heal itself. So remember, I said inflammation can be either acute or chronic. So acute inflammation, which is short-term inflammation, okay, it helps fight inflammation, or it helps fight infection. I'm sorry, guys. It helps fight infection and helps speed up the healing process. That's acute inflammation. And when we have acute inflammation, that's actually a good thing because it's trying to protect our body. It's designed to protect us. Remember, it's the first line of defense is inflammation, part of our natural immune system. And acute inflammation can occur if you have a cut, maybe you have a sprained ankle. It can happen if you have an infection like the flu or pneumonia, for example. But then we have chronic inflammation. That's the other type of inflammation I always talk about. That's the one we focus on when we talk about chronic disease, is chronic inflammation. And that occurs when the inflammation persists for several months to years. So it just keeps going, okay? Acute inflammation is short-term. Chronic inflammation is many months to years. It lasts longer. And with chronic inflammation, we're actually damaging the healthy tissues and organs. And this occurs because the immune system, it just keeps fighting because it's being signaled that there's a constant attack or insult on the body. And so what happens is it's actually damaging to healthy tissues and organs because it doesn't turn itself off. It thinks it's still under attack. And so it actually can cause damage to healthy tissues and organs. So this is important, right? Now we know the difference. We know that the immune system has two parts, innate and acquired, or innate is natural, acquired is adaptive, okay? Adaptive or acquired. And we know there's two types of inflammation, acute inflammation and chronic inflammation. And chronic inflammation is the one that lasts a long time, can damage healthy tissue and organs, and is the playground for disease. So what can lead to chronic inflammation? Many lifestyle factors. This is why I'm so passionate about this, guys. Many lifestyle factors. So eating the typical American Western diet, which is high in processed foods, high in salt, and high in sugar. Having a sedentary lifestyle, right? Sitting a lot, being inactive. Chronic stress can create chronic inflammation. Smoking, excessive alcohol intake, poor sleep, to include having sleep apnea, which if you have sleep apnea and you're treating it with the CPAP, that helps treat that. So that's good. But if you have sleep apnea and you're not using the CPAP that they gave you, like my husband who chooses not to use it because he says he has facial hair now and he doesn't like the way it fits. Well, if you have sleep apnea and you're not treating it from the way, whatever the healthcare provider, usually it's a CPAP machine prescribed, then you're creating chronic inflammation, okay? If you're treating it with your CPAP, then you're treating the sleep apnea, so then you won't have the chronic inflammation. Also, over-exercising can actually cause chronic inflammation, so that's important to know. You have to find the right sweet spot or that point where you're not over-exercising, but you're still exercising enough to see results. Okay. And then obesity is also another cause of chronic inflammation, and that ties back in with lifestyle, okay? So chronic inflammation, it actually kicks on higher and it lasts longer than acute inflammation. And when we have this chronic inflammation, the immune system just floods the problem area with these white blood cells, WBCs, and they attack healthy organs and tissues when we have chronic inflammation. So think of chronic inflammation like a smoldering fire throughout the body. And just know that chronic inflammation is the spark that ignites the chronic disease. Chronic inflammation, like I said before, is also the playground for chronic disease. So why is chronic inflammation important? Worldwide, 3 out of 5 people die from a disease linked to inflammation, and this is chronic inflammation, such as strokes, chronic respiratory diseases, heart disorders, cancer, obesity, and diabetes. Chronic inflammatory diseases are the most significant cause of death in the world. And the WHO, or the World Health Organization, actually ranks chronic disease as the greatest threat to human health. That's why this is so important, and I wanted to show you how it all ties in. Over the next 30 years, the prevalence of diseases associated with chronic inflammation are expected to persistently increase. So when we've talked about the basics of the immune system. We've talked about chronic inflammation and the difference between that and acute inflammation, and how that is incorporated into the immune system. And we said inflammation is the first line of defense or innate immune response, right? But now what does gut health have to do with our immune system? So a key component to the overall health of our immune system includes our gut microbiome. Why is that? 70 to 80% of our immune system is actually located in the lining of our gut. Dr. Jonathan Jacobs, he's a professor of digestive diseases at the David Geffen School of Medicine at UCLA. And he states that the microbiome and the immune system are critically intertwined. What's present in the gut determines what education the immune cells get. That's powerful. What we put in our mouth and eat actually is what educates our immune cells. Your gut actually has direct contact with the outside world through the food we eat, right? We take things from the outside that are considered whatever foods we're eating, and they go inside. And so we have direct exposure on the inside in our gut lining to the outside world through the food we eat. And so it would make sense that our bodies are so smart that they put the majority of our immune system along our gut. It's like putting the soldiers on the front lines to fight off the toxins and pathogens that get introduced to the body. We know we have a skin barrier, right, and mucous membranes, but we also have the gut lining because we do eat things from the outside world. We're eating foods made in the outside world and we're putting them in our body. And so the majority, 70 to 80% of the immune system is lining that gut, like soldiers on the front lines, trying to fight any kind of toxins or anything that could cause disease from getting into the body. That would make sense, right, guys? So what's the goal of supporting our immune system? This I got from How to Reset Your Immune System at the Cellular Level by Dr. Mark Hyman, who's been a functional medicine doctor in this realm and in this vein for decades. And this was from his podcast on August 25th of 23. And his podcast is called The Pharmacy, and pharmacy is F-A-R-M, like farm, F-A-R-M-A-C-Y, Dr. Mark Hyman. So what is the goal of supporting our immune system? He says that it's to regulate the immune system to do what it's supposed to do and not what it's not supposed to do. When we have a robust immune system working appropriately, it prevents infections like colds, flu, and other illnesses. It protects us against chronic disease like cancer and autoimmune diseases, to name a couple. And it aids in recovery from illnesses and injuries. So what happens when we have a dysfunctional immune system? That occurs when we eat an we have a dysfunctional immune system. It's not working properly when we eat inflammatory foods, all right, an inflammatory diet. And they call this the standard American diet or SAD diet. That creates inflammation. Those foods are inflammatory. Also, toxin exposure from the environment and foods, changes in our gut microbiome, chronic stress, and lack of exercise. And that all leads to chronic inflammation, right? We're saying this is what we're doing to make a dysfunctional immune system. We eat an inflammatory diet, the SAD diet, toxins from the environment and foods, and changes in the gut microbiome, chronic stress, lack of exercise. This all leads to chronic inflammation. They've actually coined the term now inflammaging, and that's because chronic inflammation actually accelerates aging, and it also drives a lot of the chronic diseases of aging. That's how important this is. So what can we do to activate our own body's rejuvenation system? And this also comes from Dr. Mark Hyman's podcast. Well, first off, with food, we can eat an anti-inflammatory diet. And I've talked to you guys about that before. And that's a lot of when I do health coaching and help people get on a health journey, that's what I'm doing is we are doing anti-inflammatory eating and using some supplements to fill in the gaps and help us with a robust give our gut health. We're supporting our gut health to help improve our overall health and well-being. Okay. And part of that is because the gut, right, is not only the second brain, but 70 to 80% of our immune system's in the gut. And we're trying to make an impact on chronic inflammation by changing the food we eat. Okay. So eating an anti-inflammatory diet, eating plants that are rich, full of eating plant-rich foods that are loaded with phytochemicals, medicinal properties in them that can rejuvenate the immune system and reduce inflammation. So that's eating lots of colorful fruits and veggies. When I talk about phytochemicals, there's so many buzzwords out there, but I wanted to really break this down because it can get confusing even for me, okay? So phytochemicals are the plant's own defense mechanisms. When the plants are stressed, they make more phytochemicals. So when you think of phytochemicals in plants, I want you to think of it as the plant's own immune system. Incredible, right? So when we eat these, it activates your body's own healing systems because we're eating the plants that are loaded with phytochemicals. We're eating their immune system. It's their immune system response. So it helps activate healing for us as well. So eating a colorful plate of fruits and veggies and a variety, not sticking with the same ones all the time. Also, we want to fertilize the microbiome, and we do that with both polyphenols from colorful plant foods Pre and probiotic foods are also important. And we talk about that a lot in this space. These are all things that I talk about and I do when I take people on a health journey with me. These are things that I do for myself and my family does every day. So what are polyphenols? They're rich in antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. Now, fiber, we've talked about fiber before. Fiber can actually manipulate all arms of the immune system, both innate and adaptive. So guys, remember I said there's an innate and an adaptive two parts of the immune system. When you're eating fiber, that actually is so powerful a nutrient, it can manipulate all aspects of the immune system because it's impacting the innate and the adaptive side. That's incredible, right? You want to eat omega-3 fats and essential fatty acids, and you want to eliminate junk food and ultra-processed foods. You want to exercise, so stay active. You want to walk 30 minutes daily at a minimum, okay? And you want to include resistance training about 3 times weekly. Now, remember, obviously, everyone's health is starting differently. So depending on where you're at, if you've had a recent surgery, if you've been told by your doctor you can't exercise because of a certain medical condition or medication, maybe you've had some kind of recent orthopedic surgery or injury, you need to get clearance from your personal healthcare provider. These are just general guidelines of what's recommended to help us improve our immune system, have a more robust immune system, and decrease chronic inflammation while supporting gut health, okay? So it does say resistance training 3 times weekly, and that can be anywhere from lifting weights to resistance bands. It doesn't have to be hardcore weightlifting. Sleeping 7 to 8 hours per night. We've talked about needing a minimum of 7 hours a night to rest and rejuvenate our bodies. It impacts so many things. And we need to manage stress. And there's some things we can do with that. Exercise can help manage stress, but also we can meditate. We want to watch what we're reading, what we're watching, what we're listening to. That's the input going in. That's going to affect the stress and what's in our minds. And we want to be really mindful of that. And prayer can be another way to help decrease stress. There's a lot of them. Even taking like a warm bubble bath at night can help set the tone to relax and reduce stress. So next, guys, I want to talk about these immunity fizz sticks that Arbonne has recently launched. They're powerful. And so I wanted to go through some of the key ingredients in them. And I took the information about the specific ingredients in the immunity fizz sticks from the NIH, which is the National Institute of Health, dietary supplements for immune function and infectious diseases fact sheet for healthcare professionals. So that's where I got the information on the individual ingredients that they use in the immunity fizz sticks. So first is vitamin D. And vitamin D has both innate and adaptive immunity properties. Vitamin D actually appears to lower viral replication rates, suppress inflammation. It also can increase levels of T regulatory cells in their activity. So it's impacting the immunity cells, okay? It actually can, on almost all immune cells, so when we talk about B lymphocytes, T lymphocytes, but on almost all immune cells, they actually express the vitamin D receptor. So that's why vitamin D can help with our immune system. And studies have found that people with vitamin D deficiency were more likely to have COVID-19 and a poorer prognosis or outcome than those who were vitamin D sufficient, and that people who regularly took vitamin D supplements, they did not tell me in what I read about how much, no amounts were specified. They were less likely to develop COVID-19. So this is from the National Institute of Health, dietary supplements in the time of COVID-19 fact sheet for healthcare professionals. That's where I got that information, okay? So I thought that was powerful. Dr. Mark Hyman from functional medicine, he's the functional medicine doc I talked about with his podcast before. He also cites a study with the goal for vitamin D. We do blood levels. You can get your blood levels done for your vitamin D and other vitamins. And the blood level goal being 50 was what he said, which is the same as what I heard from a holistic health and wellness, other holistic health and holistic holistic health and wellness practitioners in regards to heart disease. And one of those was Dr. Amy Doneen, who was one of the co-authors of the book, Healthy Heart, Healthy Brain. And we had talked about a series. We had done that series a little bit a while back. And she's a doctorate of nurse practitioner. So the blood level on the vitamin D being around 50 was what they were citing as a goal, which is very different than the goal of what they have when we look at Western medicine, okay? So there's a difference there. And it's really important, guys, to know that Arbonne and myself are not making any medical claims or stating that this product can prevent, treat, or cure illnesses to include COVID-19. But as a nurse practitioner, I do believe this information is important as it does come from evidence-based resources such as the National Institute of Health is where I'm citing these. And I gave you the title of those documents if you want to look at them yourself. But this is not a claim that I'm saying Arbonne nor myself are making on the Immunity Fizz Sticks. Now, fat soluble vitamins, that's vitamins A, D, E, and K, okay? Fat soluble vitamins, and like I said, those are A, D, E, and K vitamins. They're stored in the body for long periods of time and generally pose a greater risk for toxicity than water soluble vitamins when you take too much, when they're consumed in excess. So more is not always the case. And it's important to be very mindful and cautious. So follow with your personal healthcare provider, get those blood levels checked and ask them to check your vitamin D level blood work as well as other vitamins they can check for you, and have that discussion with them because everybody's levels are different and your personal healthcare provider knows you best and give you guidance on that. This is just general information, okay? Now on zinc also has innate and adaptive immunity properties. Zinc is involved in many parts of cellular metabolism. It's actually necessary for the increased rate of chemical activity of approximately 100 enzymes. And it plays a role in many body processes, including both the innate and adaptive immune systems. See why I told you about the innate and adaptive immune systems? Because these things that we hear about that can help boost our immunity actually impact both sides of our immune system, both of those sides, which is powerful. Zinc also has antiviral and anti-inflammatory properties, and it helps maintain the integrity of tissue barriers, such as respiratory epithelia, which is the lining of the respiratory tract, right? That helps protect us. And studies have found associations between low zinc status and a higher risk of viral infections, and people with zinc deficiency actually have a higher risk of diarrhea and respiratory diseases. So I thought that was really interesting. Now, vitamin C, this one's a heavy hitter. We hear a lot about vitamin C, and not all vitamin C is created equal, okay? But vitamin C does have innate and adaptive immunity properties. You just need to know where the vitamin C is being sourced from, because there's a lot of GMO type crops where the vitamin C is actually being sourced from these GMO crops that are not as good for us. And I was hearing this on some of the holistic health and wellness provider podcasts I listen to, and I can cover that in more detail later, but not all vitamin C is the same. Not all supplements are the same. It depends on the company, the way they test and source the ingredients. That's really important. So just be really mindful and cautious. And again, you can reach out to me, but having these discussions with your personal healthcare provider is good also. So vitamin C, we said it impacts both innate and adaptive immunity it has innate and adaptive immunity properties. It impacts both systems. And it has antioxidant effects, right? We said antioxidant just means we're preventing the body from rusting out on the inside. Antimicrobial effects, antiviral actions, and it's an immune system modulator. So what is a modulator? An immune system modulator, it actually helps speed the immune system up or slow down the immune response, depending on what it needs to do. And vitamin C also helps maintain epithelial integrity, which is our gut lining. There we go. We go back to gut health and gut lining. So see how this all just keeps overlapping? It's just so intriguing to me. You know, I like to nerd out on this stuff. So I hope it's bringing value to you too, because it blows my mind. Vitamin C also enhances the differentiation and proliferation of B and T cells. So cell proliferation is just the process of increasing the number of cells, while cell differentiation is the process of forming a variety of cell types that have specific functions. Okay. Vitamin C enhances phagocytosis. So when I think of phagocytosis, I think of Pac-Man just gobbling up the invaders. It really is, phagocytosis is just think of a Pac-Man gobbling it up. And then it also normalizes cytokine production. And cytokines, we've heard a lot about cytokines. They're actually proteins that serve as chemical messengers to tell your immune cells where to go and what to do. So different types of cytokines do different specific tasks, like regulating inflammation. And that came from the Cleveland Clinic. Vitamin C also decreases histamine levels, and it might inhibit viral replication. So I thought that was really interesting. Vitamin C is powerful. But remember, not all vitamin C is created equal. Not all supplements are created equal. So you really have to do your research. Elderberry. Elderberry contains many compounds, and it might have anti-inflammatory, antiviral, antimicrobial, and immune stimulating effects. And components of elderberry might actually help prevent respiratory infections by inhibiting virus binding to host cells and by stimulating the immune system. So that was great. And in one study among participants who did develop a cold, elderberry extract reduced cold duration by about 2 days and also reduced the severity of symptoms. All right. Now, in the Immunity Fizz, we have what's called Resist-Aid, which is a trademark word that are coined by Arbonne. And in that Resist-Aid coined verbiage is, I have to say, try to say this fast, arabinogalactin. There we go, arabinogalactin. And all that is a soluble fiber from the North American larch tree. So I looked this up to see, because I had not heard of arabinogalactin before. And in my research, I found that recent human studies have demonstrated that dietary intervention with arabinogalactin from the North American Larix species could increase resistance to infections. A clinical study demonstrated that larch arabinogalactin supplementation reduced the incidence of common cold infections. And results suggest a role for larch arabinogalactin to the improvement of immune system and defense against pathogens, which are those disease-causing organisms in humans. So improving the immune system and helping defend against those disease-causing organisms in humans. So guys, in wrap-up, just to remind you guys, our country is in a health crisis. We all know this. Guys, the United States is ranked first in the world for the amount of money spent on healthcare per person. Yet it is ranked 46th out of 246 countries for longevity. And the United States has the highest rate of people with multiple chronic diseases. That came from the Commonwealth Fund, which was an independent research group. Remember, immunity is not just about fighting off infections. It's a complex system that influences our overall health and well-being. Immunity is our body's defense system. Lifestyle, stress, and environmental factors actually do affect our immunity. And when you know better, you can do better, right? Now you have tools to help maximize your immune system as well as support your overall health and wellness. So just to remind you guys, from Arbonne, this product is not, so when I talk about the Immunity Fizz, per Arbonne, this product is not intended for children, pregnant or breastfeeding women, those with a medical condition, and those taking medication should consult with a healthcare professional before use. Not intended to prevent, treat, or cure COVID-19. And I am not making any medical claims regarding this product or any of the information on the individual vitamins and ingredients in the Immunity Fizz that we talked about, like zinc and elderberry and all the things. I am here to share information and provide you with education. The information I provide is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure, and it is not intended to replace guidance to you by your personal healthcare provider who knows you best. For further questions, you can reach out to me privately, and I encourage you to discuss the use of any type of supplements, to include Immunity Fizz sticks, with your personal healthcare provider. And aside from what we talked about with adults, anything that you are thinking about doing with your children, you need to check with their personal healthcare provider, because kids are different. They are not little adults, and you need to check with their personal healthcare provider to make sure you're doing no harm. Okay. But I hope that this brought you some value, and I'm happy to talk with you if you want to reach out to me about more information on chronic inflammation, gut health, immunity, fizz sticks, or anything that I presented today that you might want to know more about. But guys, thanks so much for showing up. I truly am on a mission to positively impact your health and wellness through education and coaching to create generational health and a health span that equals your lifespan. I hope this education brought you value. And until next time, please be safe. Bye, guys.